Okay, so good morning, Friday, week one of the open course on flipped learning. Got my coffee. Need to mark some exams today. Let's see if anyone's got some questions here on Twitter. Or I've got some questions here in the course. So a couple things I wanted to touch on. It looks like a lot of people are starting to ramp things up, and that's good. I know a lot of my colleagues are busy because, well, it's exam week, and I've got a whole boatload of exams to mark as well, and I'll get those done this morning. What I'm really happy with the activity on Twitter, as well as it's starting to come in on the comment sections on the course. So definitely join Twitter. I recommend you leave your Twitter account open. Don't have it private. If you're thinking of privacy like in a Facebook view way, like a lot of us tend to put on Facebook pictures of our kids or what we're doing, and we share with our friends and family. Twitter is much more about following conversations and not so much about following people. There's people who use it that way, but if you're using it as an educator, as a professional resource, then I think it's much more useful to put it open, because what happens is, say Anna or Gabby sends something via Twitter that's really cool for the course. I can't retweet to everyone else in the course what you've said if your set is private. I'd have to copy paste it and then attribute it to you or something. But if you're private, I can't reshare the cool stuff that you're sending. And no one else can see it except for people that you've allowed to follow you. So I recommend do some reflection on whether you want to open up your Twitter or not. There's only a few people that do that, but I remember I had my Twitter account private at the start because I didn't get what Twitter was about until maybe just over a year and a half, 2 years ago. So there's that. And then definitely when there's that one page for each of the course's units. I've got unit 2 in a draft form. It's up. I don't know if I linked it yet. I think I linked it. Let's see. Units. No, I haven't linked it in the menus there, but it's there if you know how to find it. I'll put that up today for next week's unit, so people that want to can start getting ahead as opposed to behind. And then everyone else, just get in and do whatever units you can do right now. Okay. Remember, if you want this course for credit, then I expect you to be sort of close to on time in your submissions. So unit 1 should be handed in. This reflections and your thoughts on flexible environment should be in Monday sometime. Let's put that Monday. I said noon somewhere, but I'll be flexible. So, and it's not a matter of just putting stuff in at the last minute, because the real value in a course like this, where we have lots of people hooking up, is seeing what others are doing, sharing what you're doing, getting feedback from them. And that's really what I think is the most valuable part of this type of experience. Actually, I learned something yesterday afternoon when we had our hangout with Andrew and Brian and Jen and Kate. Don't forget Kate, even though she was muted for half. I thank them very much for being on. It's great to have pioneers in flip learning with us. All of them have been flipping for a long time. They're very visible. So that's awesome that you get a chance to see the opinions of others that are leading flip learning. I learned something from Brian, because when I think flexible environment, I'm always thinking the entire environment, whether it's flexibility in time, flexibility in how you hand in assignments, flexibility in how we do our work in class and the layout of the classroom, flexibility in how my students communicate with me. There's the whole, I just push that word as much as possible. And I think some others did as well. You definitely watched the recording of yesterday afternoon's Hangout session. And Brian, who is one of the founders of the Flip Learning Network, he pointed out that when they developed those 4 pillars, their real emphasis was on the flexibility of the classroom space. So that's something I learned. So it's really nice that you can learn and keep learning, even if you've got a lot of experience in any area. So definitely go and check out the Hangouts. We had 2 last week. We had 2 this week, Wednesday evenings and Thursday afternoons. Last week we had Crystal and Katie and Audrey on Wednesday evening. And then we had a Thursday session with Troy Cockram and Kate Baker. And then Wednesday evening this week, we had April Goodenrath show up, and that was great, as well as Sandra from Morelia. And if you watch that, you'll notice Sandra didn't want to do it in English, and that's okay. If you want to join us, feel free to say, hey, I'd like to jump in and join in on the fireside chat, either Wednesday evening or Thursday afternoon. And I'll do the whole Spanish-English flipping it around thing. That's fine, and I think different people get different things out of both languages being used. So that's cool. It was really great for Sandra to jump in. Thank you. And maybe some of our colleagues from Morelia would like to join us another time, or any one of you. Definitely ping me if you're interested in joining. And then yesterday afternoon, of course, we had Andrew and Brian and Jen and Kate. Again, thank you, Kate, for doing this twice. Everyone's welcome. If any of them want to join us again anytime, just let me know. And it was great. Actually, I didn't know Jen. I've seen Jen's work on Twitter, and I've seen her blog post before, but I haven't talked to Jen before, so that was really nice too. Jen Ward was actually invited on Wednesday evening, but couldn't come, so maybe Jen will join us another time. So let's see. There's questions coming in on Twitter today. No, there's nothing coming on Twitter. But we've got a few posts on this week's unit. So if you go to Unit 1 in the course, Sandra went in and posted, and I replied to her, and I remembered also, I think I remembered, oh yeah, there's Sandra's post. When you post your comment on the blog for the course for this week's unit, use that to express your opinion so you can get some conversations going. Some of you are used to doing this kind of forum interaction or comments on an area, and that's great. And I kind of like that format as well, because then when people go and look at this 3 months later or 6 months later or years later, all of the context is there of here's the post, here's the comments, here's the reply to the comments. Twitter's more kind of an immediate thing. So it's a little harder to follow Twitter, although there's ways to archive everything that's happening. I'm actually archiving what we're doing in the open flip. So feel free to go into the page for our course, put your comment, put out some ideas. You could even copy paste from your blog a segment. That'd be good. Put it as a quote and then say, hey, go to my blog to see the rest of it. That'd be great. You really want to kind of drive traffic to your blog. And for me, the connected courses part, that's what it's really about, is I want to drive people to see what you are doing, not just what I'm doing. So, and I'll try not to comment too much on the blog because I don't want to overpower it. So that's great. So Sandra came in, and Elena Hernandez came in and replied as well. And it looks like, I think she said she commented on Sandra's post as well. So I go over to Sandra's post, and it's a long post. It's really well done. Hardvig actually went in and commented on Sandra's post. Tere commented on Sandra's post a couple times, and I thought I did. Where's mine? 1, 2, 3. I thought I did. I guess I didn't. And you'll notice that Sandra got a bunch of comments. And why did she get comments? Because she pushed her post out there. She advertised it on Twitter. She advertised it as a comment, or I advertised it for her as a comment on the course blog. And that drives traffic and creates conversation. And that's excellent. Actually, Sandra's just posted her first tweet yesterday. So welcome to Twitter, Sandra. So that's cool. Who else has posted as well? Hartvig, thank you for posting as well. He posted a link to his YouTube video on his viewpoints. And Hartvig and I have had some good back and forth on our viewpoints, where we meet and where we differ. And it's fine to differ on our viewpoints in this course or anything. And we're academics and we're professionals, and we differ in a responsible and not a shouting match format, not trolling each other. And so that's great. Mari Cruz also posted there as a comment, I think. No, yeah, she posted, and Elena Hernandez also posted. So there's a bunch of traffic going there. I know last week's session, if you go back to Unit 0, let's see if I can pull up Unit 0 quickly here. There were just a few posts. Let's go to Unit 0. I'm not going to show you. I'm looking on my other computer here, so I don't have to flip back and forth all the time. Yolanda put a comment in, and I said thank you. Mari Marin commented a couple of times there. Great. If you haven't done that Unit 0, first post to your blog of what you think about flipped learning and what you want out of this course. I invite you to still do that if you haven't. Just do something quick, because I think the real interesting reason to do that is at the end of the course, or maybe sometime later in the summer when you're getting ready to start flipping, if that's what you're going to be doing in August or September in your courses. You can look back on what you said here in February and think how you've changed your thoughts on your pedagogy during those 8 weeks or more. And it's also fun to just go back and look at something you wrote or posted or recorded years ago. That's always fun. I've got lots of friends that have been blogging for years, and it's interesting to go back and see what they did a long time ago. Okay, so that's fun. So go ahead and finish up Unit 1. Go back and do Unit 0 if you haven't done it. I invite you to do that. It looks like we got about 50 people in the course that re-expressed their interest and went to register their blog. If you missed that and you registered and I've been email spamming you, definitely go back and go to the course, and at the top link there's a link that says register your blog, Twitter, YouTube. Please do that, because then I'll be able to post so that your blog is showing up in that link of all blogs. Remember as well, when you do post your blog, please use the hashtags. So if you don't know what that means, please ask. But it's pretty simple. Just anywhere in your text that you're writing, you hit the hashtag, and in Spanish and Mexico we call that gato, or it's an asterisk. That, and then right beside it, no space there, put any word that is kind of a keyword. So it's a keyword tagging mechanism. Please also keyword tag which week we're in. So keyword tag Unit 0 or Unit 1 or Unit 2, etc. Okay, I should have chosen weeks, but oh well. I think unit makes better because some people get weeks behind. So Unit 0, Unit 1, etc. Tag your posts, and that way what I can do on our blog, and I'll do that here probably this weekend after I get done my marking, is I want to make some ways of viewing the blog different, maybe even make it dynamic. You'll notice right now on some of the pages, looks like none of the pages, I'm going to start changing the layout so I can show you random blog posts. So we're not just generating what's seen recently. And maybe that way, if you see a set of random posts on the side in a panel or something, you'll see something interesting, click on it, go to their blog and comment on it. My flip or open daily, what was it? Flip daily or daily flip request yesterday was, and maybe if you haven't done it, go ahead and do it today. I know someone answered about it, is go and find people on Twitter that you want to follow and go ahead and follow them. Find 5 people. You can follow Flip Class, just search Flip Class in Twitter, or search anything else and find some people that you think you're interested in. So find the person, click on them, look at their tweets, see, is this person posting stuff that's interesting to me, and then follow them. In the process, you might also want to collect some hashtags that you'd like to check off. And I think I showed my Twitter stream before with Tweetdeck. Let's see if I can make that happen now. I'm going to just turn this thing off for a second so it's not bugging me. Let's see if my screen share is working today. It doesn't want to work today. Oh well, it wasn't working yesterday either. There's something wrong with my MacBook. Probably have to reboot. I'll make a Twitter video maybe again to give you kind of an overview of how to use Twitter, or how I use Twitter. I'm not telling you how to use Twitter. If you go and look at a couple tweets yesterday that I sent to OpenFlip, or I'm not sure if I sent them to OpenFlip, but I sent them myself. George Chorus, who's an administrator in Edmonton, retweeted another post from, I think it was Dan, asking for tutorials or why to use Twitter as an academic. And I'll pull that out and I'll retweet it if I haven't already. and maybe I'll do it again if I did. I think he was collecting posts about why academics should use Twitter. I know I wrote a blog post about that sometime last year, about January 2014. And Crystal Kirch, who's one of the co-moderators of Crystal Kirch, not Crystal Kirch, Cheryl Morris, sorry, not Crystal. Crystal's probably posted about Twitter, but Cheryl Morris wrote an excellent blog post, or two actually, but one in particular about why you should be using Twitter as an educator. I posted that yesterday as well. Definitely take a look at Cheryl's work. She's one of the co-moderators of the Flip Class chat every Monday, along with Andrew. So I think you should learn to use Twitter if you don't already know. And if you're using Twitter in a way that's not as an academic resource, then take a look at those posts. Take a look at how to use Twitter more effectively for yourself. So I'm going to load up let's reload that. I'm going to go back here and see if there's any questions coming in. So that's the daily flip challenge. Go and find 5 people to follow. And while you're doing that, find 5 topics to follow as well, or just one topic is fine. Don't get overloaded on Twitter. One thing I mentioned yesterday, and it came up with the chat with Andrew and Brian and Jen and Kate, was that Twitter is different. It's not like Facebook doesn't show you everything. They choose what to show you, which is sometimes kind of strange, and some of us don't like that. We want to see everything in chronological order. And some people get overloaded, whether it's with Twitter or when we're doing very flexible teaching, and maybe I give my students or my colleagues, if I'm doing professional development, a whole bunch of choices of what to do. And sometimes people get overloaded thinking they have to do everything. And when I'm giving choices, the idea is choose the ones you think are right, or learn to scan really well. Go to these 5 articles, find the ones that are most interesting to you, be able to look at the beginning of those articles and choose, am I going to read this in depth, or am I not going to read this in depth? Or am I just going to jump down to the bibliography and references and follow the references instead? Choose how to spend your time reviewing this material. And the same thing with Twitter. You can't see everything. You can't. So you get over this feeling that you need to consume and see everything. And then it happens actually with my class. My students are posting a massive amount of assignments because I have all these kind of micro assignments, and my graders are looking at them. But I'm picking and choosing what I go to look at, especially if I know a student is struggling, or if I know a student particularly asks me, hey, Ken, can you go look at this? I'll go and look at all their posts and I'll put comments on them. But I'm not too stressed about watching every single one of them. That's why I have the formative assessments, so that I and they can see how they're doing. And I have my summative assessments to really drill down and make sure they're doing what they need to do so they can have success in the courses that follow. So that's a little bit strange, because I think I freaked someone out yesterday when I said I had over 1,000 submissions of assignments so far this semester. I have 90 something students submitting, but still that's a boatload of stuff to look at, and I'm not looking at every single detail. My students might go, whoa, he's not looking at everything, but there's a trust level here, and that's really important, and that's why we have these other forms of assessment. And this is why I spend time with my students and make sure they're doing okay every day in class. My looking at their assignments is not the way I see how they're doing. Let's put it that way. So what else we got today? I definitely want to cut this back to half an hour, because an hour of this would have been nuts. Let's see, what else can I say? We have more people still jumping in. There's still people registering, even this morning. And that's fine. Or it's people that registered before, but now they're deciding to be active and registering a blog. Or maybe some of you are out there and just looking. I know some of my colleagues said they just don't have time to do everything. So they're just going to come in and pick and choose and see what's going on. Those colleagues that said that, feel free. There's no limit here, or anyone on the internet, actually. If you do post a comment to our course blog, your first comment will be held for moderation until I decide to release it or not, to protect us from too many spam links. But once you've posted on the blog and you are authorized, then you will get all of your posts will happen automatically. Unless you post a bunch of links to spammy stuff, then it'll get held for me. So if you're not actually actively participating in the course, submitting assignments, then feel free to jump in and put comments on there, or partially participate, make a blog post and that's related to this week's work and comment there. And that's fine too. Or jump in on Twitter and interact with us on Twitter, or come in and join us on these live chats. Anyone's welcome today, or any office hour if you want to come in and see me live here in person, or jump in on the chat of Google Hangout. I'm happy to invite people, and we can not have myself talking to the screen the whole time. How do you do that? You need to make sure you have a Google Plus account, which you probably do if you have any kind of Google account like Gmail or a YouTube account. And then I need to know who you are on Google Plus so that I can find you and invite you into the video chat. And as soon as you make an online presence, and that is part of, at least in my opinion, although Brian might correct me, that's part of the last pillar of flipped learning. As soon as you have more of an online presence, it's actually much easier for people to find you. Like Jen yesterday, she jumped in and said, "Hey, I'd love to join." And then I just Googled her. Well, I followed her Twitter profile, which had a link to her blog. I couldn't find a link to her Google Plus account. So Jen, you might want to fix that from her blog. And then, so I couldn't find her Google Plus, but then I just did a quick Google of Google Plus accounts, and I found various Jen or Jennifer Ward, or it wasn't Jennifer Ward. I've got Jen's name wrong. Jennifer Ward was going to be with us on Wednesday. Sorry, Jennifer. I'm not going to look it up right now. She's a science teacher, and I think that has to do with her tag on Twitter. But I didn't know Jen before. It was as Jennifer. She was listed on Twitter as well as Google Plus. But I found her. I linked up. Okay, is this Google Plus? Looks more like the same person. I looked at her posts and looked at her blog, and it seemed like the right person. I confirmed with her via Twitter, and she said, "Yep, you found me." And if you make yourself more visible, then people will be able to find you and contact you and interact with you in a professional education manner, as opposed to if you don't make a web presence, then your only web presence will be stuff you don't control. We could talk about digital citizenship and why academics should be online more and making themselves, or being more active in creating what their online persona is, because you have an online persona whether you know it or not. Just check ratemyprofessors.com or whatever the similar one is here in Latin America. A lot of my colleagues are there, and they might not even know they're there. Let's see, what else? I could sit here and solve a Rubik's Cube, but I don't think that'll be very interesting, and I can't remember how to do it anymore. Some of you might be wondering if I'm sitting down, but I'm not. It's a standing desk. Let's see if something else come in via Twitter while I'm standing here. Yeah, I got Twitter spam. Nothing else that's particularly interesting there. I'll go through and see if there's anything else I really wanted to talk about. Jennifer Gray, there's your name. Sorry, Jen. That was your post yesterday. No, there's not too much else to mention. We're going to go into Unit 2 next week, which is, let's see, a learning environment. Let's go to the 4 pillars of flipped learning, because I'm forgetting my 4 pillars. Learning. Need to load up on coffee here first. So we went through flexible environment. Yeah, learning culture, sorry. So L will be learning culture. We're going to look at that next week. And then we go into intentional content. I believe Brian Bennett was mentioning yesterday that was his favorite pillar of flipped learning. And I know Troy Cockrum yesterday, when I was talking with Troy, actually the day before yesterday, he said that flexible environment is his favorite. which is interesting how we all kind of have our different focuses or favorites in these pillars, and maybe there's even pillars missing we'd like to discuss. I know if you're interested in flexible environment, I'll repeat this again. Flip Learning podcast, I think it was 115 with Troy Cockram and Joan Brown, which is a podcast that comes out once a week or so. Definitely go back and listen to that one if you're really interested in the physical layout of classrooms, because that's what that show is about with an interview. Troy posted another one just last night as well, or Wednesday evening. He recorded it. That's why he didn't join us. He was thinking about joining us. So intentional content, I think Brian actually said that's his favorite. And then professional educator, which to me is my favorite of the 4 pillars. So we'll get through those 4 pillars, remember, one a week. And then we'll spend a couple weeks looking at you designing your flipped activity. I'm going to stretch that out to 2 weeks as opposed to 1 week this run, because actually one of my colleagues, Joel Quagel, recommended this course was longer, so we could have more time to interact and especially work on the assignment part of your first flip lesson. If this is your first flip lesson you're going to plan. And then the last week will just be wrap up and talk about where to go next. And then most likely I'll just keep turning this over and offering this course as long as people are interested in joining in and being active and checking things out. So we'll see how this goes as we go along the next few weeks. Let's see if anything else is coming in. I don't think so. A really bad screenshot of me on the page for there. Oh, Sandra posted something. Sandra just posted a comment. Okay, she's just saying thank you. That's fine. I thought maybe it was a question for me here today. So it's pretty close to 9 o'clock. So I will wrap up and get cranking on my marking I need to do for my exams. Definitely keep posting all weekend or during the week, evenings, mornings, post anytime. I try to turn off my phone and not look at it late at night. So if you're the late night kind of poster, I'm usually asleep or at least relaxing and not connected to the internet anytime after 9 p.m. locally. So if you're an evening poster, you can expect my replies earlier in the morning the next day. But the idea isn't that it's just Ken replying to you. We have a community here. There's a massive community of people flipping on the internet, and in Twitter especially. So just post your comments or your questions out there, and anyone else can answer. And another reason for you to have a public profile on Twitter, because if it's not, then nobody's going to see it, and you're just shouting into space of people that you allow to follow you. So that's all for this morning. We've hit 9 o'clock, and have an excellent weekend. I know I will, and I'll be seeing you on the course on Twitter and here through live chats. The next session will be Monday morning. I'll post. I hope to do it this weekend, so it'll be ready to just push out Monday morning. The second unit, which will be L, which is learning culture. Yeah. All right, so have an excellent weekend, and we'll be talking to you soon. Have a good one.